Hello, and welcome back to the next tour with
Ian?
and Andia. We're happy to be here today for episode 27 with Grant Vermeer. Grant was a cryptologic warfare officer in the Navy. He served for 6 years. He transitioned in December of 2022, and he's also a military spouse. Woohoo!
Hey,
Military
go
spouses.
spouses. Yeah.
Um, he is the owner of the Vermeer Group, which is a personal real estate concierge service for military families. And he also is a host of his own podcast, The Academy Insider. So, Grant, thank you so much for being here today. We're super happy to have you.
No, thank you so much. I'm super excited to get a chat about all this, and it's been so fun getting to meet you at MIC, Military Influencer Conference, and build this relationship. I'm super excited to be here right now. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks
Yeah,
for being
awesome.
here.
Yeah, again, Grant, welcome. Glad to have you on, and looking forward to your perspective on a bunch of things. So, if you don't mind, let's just go ahead and dive right in. I'd love to know a little bit more, kind of about your background, your service in uniform, and then a little bit about how you got into this real estate business, because it is pretty niche,
Hmm.
and which I think is really important. And then, of course, we'd like to pull the thread a little bit on kind of what we're doing here with you today,
Yep,
podcasting.
love it, love it, absolutely. Well, I'll kind of jump in. So I was one of the Naval Academy types, one of the ring knockers. Again, when I was a kid, my dad was a police officer. He was a police chief in the city I grew up in. Public service was always part of our family, but we had no military affiliation. And so, like, I definitely wasn't growing up, like, dreaming of going to the Naval Academy or dreaming of being in the
Mhm.
military. It was just one of those things where an incredible door opened up in my world. I was actually recruited to play basketball at the Naval Academy, which made me realize that that was a path I could take in life. And when I was kind of evaluating all my options, I was like, this is an incredible life opportunity. I would be crazy if I didn't see it out. Right. And so for me, that was the pathway that led me to the Naval Academy. Again, when I was 17, I was making a decision because I wanted to go play Division I basketball. But in retrospect, now as a 30-year-old, I'm like, that was the luckiest thing that ever happened to me and the greatest life decision that I ever made. And I'm so grateful for the whole experience. I majored in cyber operations while I was in Annapolis. And then that kind of led me into the cryptologic warfare community. I was stationed at Fort Meade, Maryland at the NSA, supporting the submarine mission. And so I actually did 4 deployments in my time on active duty, had an incredible time doing that, but knew that I'm a little bit of an extrovert and I enjoy the sun. So that career path was actually probably not ideal for me. Um, and so I ended up transitioning out at the end of my contract, and again had an incredible time in the military, but knew that I was kind of ready for the next chapter.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so you currently, as Andia said, deal with helping military families
Mhm.
uh, get connected with the right folks for real estate. So, can you tell us a little bit about that business?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I was getting out of the military, I this is a little bit again, shout out. I'm a big believer in transparency. I love that, right? Like, the reason I got into real estate is it was nepotism, right? My mom was a
Mhm.
longtime real estate agent. It was an easy transition pathway, and there wasn't like an emotional side to it, which was after 4 submarine deployments. I had missed the births of both of my nieces. I had missed multiple Christmases, Thanksgivings, all these different things, and I'm a sentimental man. Shout out Jeff Goldblum, right? Like, I'm
There
a
you go.
sentimental man, right? And so I was tired of missing events, and all I wanted was to be close to my family, right? Like, that,
Mhm.
even at the sake of overdoing it, I was like, I want to be close to my family. I was like, what better way to do that than to join the family business, which was a residential real estate business. And so I got out and moved to Austin. That's where my parents had kind of based themselves. And so went out to Austin, joined my mom as partners in the real estate world. Sold real estate from basically that 2022 timeframe. Again, I had used my SkillBridge internship time as well to get out there earlier, and I had got my license while I was on my shore tour and kind of helped my mom with some of the back end, transaction stuff. And so honestly, I'd been doing real estate since about 2021, and kind of got into that pathway, really enjoyed it, and then life threw again the best hand grenade of all time, which was my wife. And my wife is active duty Navy. She's a helicopter pilot, and we got married at the end of this past year. So we've been married for just over a year, and
Nice.
that marriage led me to moving to San Diego, which again, greatest thing that's ever happened to me in my entire life. I adore my wife. Like I love her to death. And so I'm like, this is the greatest thing in the world. But it also blew up my professional life because I'd been
Right.
in business in Austin, Texas, and now I'm living in San Diego. And
Yeah.
and so
Yeah,
I
the military doesn't care about a military spouse career so much.
turns out not so much. Yeah, it turns out not so much. Yeah, yeah, yeah. If they wanted me to have a career, they would have issued it in the sea bag. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So it again, it was one of these. It was my intro into the military spouse life too, was like this realization. Again, it was, while it was a tough decision, it was an easy decision for me. Like I knew more than anything, I just wanted to be with my wife. And so like I was going to adjust, like that was just going to be how it had to be. And so when I was there, I was like, all right, well, what do I do now? Like, do I get my license in California and start to learn the San Diego market and get good in a year and a half, 2-year span, just for us then to move again to Virginia or to Pensacola or, whatever it is, and have to start over again and that's just not, again, for me personally, like that I did not want to do that, right? Like I wanted to be able to build something that could continue to snowball and grow. And one of the things that I witnessed a lot during my time selling real estate was a lot of real estate agents who would claim that
Mhm.
they're military experts, that they love the military community, that they work with so many military people. And then you ask them, well, how many military families have you actually helped? And ask them questions about the VA loan and do this stuff. And they have no idea, right? No idea.
Hmm.
And so there were, I joke, and I don't mean to disparage my industry, but like there is a certain level of competency in a lot of real estate agents that is non-existent. And sometimes there is quite literally a level of sliminess or maliciousness and like trying to
Hmm.
take advantage of military families. Right. And so that to me was always this underlying feeling where I was like, all right, I don't like it. And I was trying to help it just in my own personal way by like representing military families well, hopefully.
Mhm.
But with this move and me realizing I probably needed to adjust my business model a little bit and make something a little bit more geographically agnostic and hopefully be able to move around with me, that's this idea that I came up with now, which is like the Vermeer Group, which is, like you mentioned, it's a concierge service. We're a trust broker. Like if you reach out to me, no matter where you're moving in the country, I will take on the responsibility of finding you a really good real estate agent and lending team wherever you're moving to.
Hmm.
Right? 'Cause I feel like there
Yeah.
are a lot of people over and over like, oh yeah, like when you're hiring a real estate agent, ask them these questions or do these things. But it's like you as the consumer, how are you even supposed to know that they're actually telling the truth or like
Right.
what responses mean anything to you, right?
Hmm.
So for me, it was one of these areas where I think picking a real estate agent, or again, what I always try and tell people is you are hiring a real estate agent. You're not like working with one, you are hiring a real estate agent.
Yeah.
You want to
And
make
depending on where you are, at a very high rate. I
at
mean,
a,
at a very big cost,
at
right?
a very
Depending
big
on
cost,
where you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
right? At a very big cost.
Yeah, no, that's a I love the model that you built out of this because, the frequency by which military families move, they're going into areas where, they probably don't know anybody else, or if they do, it's very much kind of word of mouth on what experience they had, and it's going to color how they see what they're going to get into,
Yep.
good or bad.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I think being able to connect those families with true experts that have that foundational knowledge of the unique perspective of the military move, that's a phenomenal model. And as we've talked about military transitions, a lot of folks will get out because of a job,
Yep.
but they still have to live somewhere. So having a concierge service, with a guy like you who gets it, both from the military service side, uh, on both sides of the service piece as a
Right.
spouse too, you can look at things a little bit differently, but you have the industry knowledge too. That's
Mhm.
really phenomenal. I love what you're doing there.
I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah.
It's been a fun challenge. And again, for me, like as we talk about that, for me, it was a really cool opportunity to find a way to help more military families at scale. Right. And while I won't be the one who represents you in the transaction, it gives me an opportunity to make sure that you're actually being taken care of and working with people who are going to do a really good job, like
Yeah.
legitimately that I know and personally trust going to do a good job and take care of you in the transaction. And
Excellent.
Yeah.
one of the things that's additional that'll be launching in 2026. So we're getting here in January. I had to make sure like legally it could work. There are a couple states where we may have to do some things a little bit differently. But one of the things that I'm going to be adding to this is anytime someone uses the Vermeer Group, they will have a client credit applied to their closing costs as a result of working with us. Because
Oh, that's awesome.
the way this business works, right? And again, I feel like a lot of times in the real estate industry, my number one frustration is that it's a little bit like very people try and keep the doors closed of like how people are compensated, what
Mhm.
the way goes, how much money we're really making, the things that are happening. And I just want things to be very transparent, right? And so
Mhm.
again, my business model, I want people to understand like how I'm incentivized and how things work, right? Is again, if I were to refer you to, let's say, Joe, an agent in San Diego, and Joe ends up representing you in the purchase of your property, right? He's obviously going to make his commission for representing you in the sale. You are not paying me, right? Like the client is not paying me. I would earn a referral fee from that receiving agent for basically delivering
Right.
them the business. That usually comes at a again, my rate that I usually charge the receiving agents is 25% of their commission, right? 25% of
Okay. Right.
instead of actually charging them 25% of their commission, what I'm choosing to do is charge them 15% of their commission and then requesting that that 10% delta would be applied towards the client's closing costs. Like they are contributing a portion of their commission back towards the buyer as a closing cost to help relieve some of the cost burden for the service member. Right. And so again, it's one of these things where I wanted to build a business. And again, it's just like a constant aligning of hopefully your actions to your values. If I'm saying that I want to build a business that's supporting military families, I actually want to support military families. Right.
Yeah. Proof is in the pudding, right?
And
Yeah.
for me, it's just kind of this over and over thing that, I hope to build. And again, the model is meant to help a lot of families, again, at scale.
Mhm.
Right. And
Yeah.
so, the different, again, like 15 to 25%, like for me, again, I hope, yes, I hope it's a very successful business over time, but I'd much rather be able to make these tangible positive impacts in the life of military families as we go through and make it really positive. Right. And so
Yeah.
that's kinda how it
Absolutely.
works at a really high level.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
Brilliant. Love it.
Yeah, I think that, when we were talking about this, I think one of the things that, we were lucky when Ian transitioned, we knew we wanted to stay here in Northern Virginia. And we had bought a home when we moved back here, right? So that wasn't really a consideration for us because we already lived here. We already had a home. We were good to go. But I think one of the things that kind of blew our minds when we were first chatting with you about this was this idea of this unique space that transitioning families are
Oh,
in. And you really opened our eyes in thinking about this. So I'd love for you to talk through some of the details. Like, how is that different from a typical civilian? When you're dealing with that big transition and you're trying to buy a home potentially during that
Yeah.
transition.
Because timing matters.
Yeah.
timing matters, dramatically. This is a really big thing. I think a lot of people assume as they're getting out of the service, they're like, "Oh, hey, I'm gonna be able to if I know I'm gonna be getting out in" again, let's say in June of, next year, like, I'm gonna be getting out in June, that I'll be able to buy a home or start the home buying process early, so that way, like, when we're getting ready to move, the home's settled, it's taken care of, we're ready to move into it. The way the VA loan works specifically and lending in general, even if you don't want to use the VA loan, is if you have your separation orders, right? Like you have a date that you're getting out of, you're separating, and really it's like your end of active service date that's kind of listed. The lenders are not going to lend you money unless either you have a new military contract that guarantees you're going to be receiving income, like a guaranteed income for the next X number of years, or you have a signed official, like ratified offer of compensation from your new job. If
Mhm.
you do not have that, you are not going to be able to qualify for a loan. And so there are a lot of people who are getting ready to get out and they're planning on getting out. And then they realize they actually don't qualify for a loan because for one reason or another, there again, I see this a ton, and again, for your audience specifically, a ton for people in SkillBridge, right? Like
Hmm.
they know they're getting out 3 to 6 months earlier than expected. They use their SkillBridge to get to the location that they want to go to, and they think they're going to buy a home, but they can't because they're trying to buy a home 6 months before their end of active duty date, but they don't
Right.
have an actual signed job offer from their new company yet. And
Hmm.
so they're not able to use their military income to qualify for a loan because the lenders know that they're getting out and that income is going to stop in 6 months.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't have that guarantee that they're going to transition into a new job and be able to get paid, right? And so a lot of people, as they're getting out on the SkillBridge pipeline who want to buy a home, realize they're actually not able to buy a home. And I just
Hmm.
think this is one of these things that you need to understand and plan for and prepare for as you're making that transition, because it's just a thing a lot of people don't consider until, like, again, it's not in your world. It doesn't matter to you until it does, right? Like you're not
Right.
Yeah.
until it does, and then you
Yeah.
realize, oh snap, like I actually can't do what I want to do. Now I need to figure out what am I going to do for a lease for 3 months or 6 months, until
Mhm.
I am maybe able to buy a home. And so um, those are the things concretely that usually affect a lot of transitioning service members. And we could talk a little bit more like then I have like just my general advice for transition.
Yeah.
But like that's concretely again is when it comes to the lending side of the house, I see a lot of service members get kind of uprooted of what they thought they could do, especially
Mhm.
during the SkillBridge timeframe because of kind of the lending stipulations.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. I mean, for the 80 some percent of service members that never make it to a full retirement, I mean, that is really, really just like in my face right now with what you said,
Mhm.
because that could be catastrophic for family planning. Like, oh my gosh, they get there and then, yeah, rut row. What do we do? We're not going to get our kids into the schools that we want. We can't afford this neighborhood because of whatever, right? That can uproot a lot of things and potentially put people into a spiral. But for those that do retire, that can also be a problem because oftentimes the final calculation for retirement salary doesn't come until after you have already retired.
Yep.
So this really should speak to every military family out there that, that planning piece of it, as far as putting down the roots, that there's a big, big, factor to talk to your real estate professional, talk to Grant. He'll
Mm.
put you in touch with the right ones, and we'd love to be able to connect those folks. So again, as we talk, we'll drop links in the show notes so everybody can connect with you on that. And I really appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah, of course. My pleasure.
Yeah. So I would like to, just ask you one more thing. So you've got a real passion for this. You said it started with, your mom in the business. We know so many people who have gotten out of the military and gotten into real estate. Um, what what kind of insight can you share? Because, you kind of grew up with it a little bit on your side of the family and fell into it, and you've taken a unique, slant on it
Yeah,
as we've
pivoted it
discussed.
a little bit.
But, what advice can you offer, to anybody looking to get into, just real estate in general? What kind of questions, should they ask themselves or, what kind of qualities, do you think that they need to bring with them out of the military to be able to succeed?
Yeah, 100%. I appreciate that. Again, I actually believe that military spouses specifically are a great archetype that can be really, really good at being a real estate agent. And again, you go through multiple PCSs, you go through moving different homes, you experience everything that could go wrong in a house, whether you've been living on base housing, your own rental, or you did buy, everything's breaking. You're realizing you have to figure out like how to do all these things. And that is a really special aspect of a real estate agent, because even though the real estate agent job description is really just in the representation of the actual home purchase process, the contracts, the analysis, the uh, you know consultation on being able to get into your home, you quickly become the end all be all go to person for anything that's happening in your home, right? And
Right.
you are able to provide much higher level of service the more you understand the things that can go wrong. Like your real job description at the end of the day is being a problem solver, right? Like there are
Yeah.
a million things that go wrong. Again, it's Murphy's Law. The moment you move into your brand new home, there's going to be about 17 things that break,
Of
right?
course.
Yeah.
It's just
Totally.
the way it is. And so,
Yeah.
um, again, being a problem solver is huge. And again, there, in my opinion, there are no better problem solvers than military spouses because you are forced to figure it out. You have no other option besides to just figure it out. And to have figured so many things out over time, it can make you an incredible, again, a person to represent people in a transaction, right? And
Yeah.
so, those are things that I think, again, for people who are interested in real estate as a profession, again, at the end of the day, it's a lot of problem solving, and just kind of figuring things out to make sure that people are being taken care of, right? Being their champion in this process where they have no idea what's going on.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and it makes sense, like and I also think, like, military spouses are also, like, very experts at research. Like,
Yeah.
we research the crap out of literally everything every time we move.
Mhm.
So, I think, these guys just go to work, but we and now you're part of the "we"
That's right.
there.
That's right.
But right, like, all the research has to be done. You've gotta know what to do, and you've gotta know who to call when you're getting ready to,
Mhm.
yeah, fix that fireplace or that I don't know,
Whatever.
air
Yeah.
conditioning, whatever the case may be. So, figuring, making all things figure outable.
Yeah.
That
Yep.
was a beautiful quote from my friend Melissa on one of our previous episodes. But that's really awesome. So I know you did say you had a couple of other tips. So I may just throw this at you for a little bit of fun here. But just to like round out the info portion of the podcast today, do you have a couple other tips for transitioning service members when they're getting ready to buy home?
Yeah. And this is just based purely on anecdotal evidence. You may be able to find other data other places. I just want to prepare people for the worst case scenarios, right? Because at the end of the day, purchasing a home is, again, it's a great asset. It's also a huge liability if
Mhm.
you are in the wrong situation, right? And I just want people to understand that fact. And this is
Mhm.
especially big in the transition out of the service because you may be moving to a new area that you discover you actually don't like, or you're moving into a new work industry that you discover you hate, right? And again, it's actually my advice to a lot of transitioning service members. And again, it's probably what made me a really bad real estate agent, actually, in the grand scheme of things, is I was always trying to convince people to not buy a home. I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
There are so many times, especially for transitioning service members who are moving to a new location and into a new job that are trying to move too fast.
Mhm.
And I just want people, again, it's my number one advice for transitioning service members is I honestly believe no matter where you're going, you should get like a 1-year lease for the first place that you're going and make sure that you can see yourself in that company in the long term and that you actually enjoy the area that you're living in. Because
Yeah.
purchasing a home is a huge decision. It forces you to put roots in a certain place, and if you wanna break those roots, it comes at us probably, again, in a fast time frame at a
Right.
financial liability, right? And
Yeah.
so, it's just one of these things that I encourage, and what's funny is a lot of times for people, especially younger people without kids, etcetera, is I'll tell them, like, "If you're coming into a new place, and you have the financial ability to do so," right? Like, I just wanna be very clear that, again, it might not work for everybody, but if you have the financial ability to do so, Airbnb. Airbnb, like, do your research, have conversations with real estate agents, do all these things, find 4 or 5 neighborhoods that seem really interesting to you that you'd like to know, and then go live in those neighborhoods for a month or 6 weeks and figure out if you actually like being there. The vibe of the neighborhood, the commutes, the traffics, the walkability, all these different aspects. Make friends with the neighbors and ask them their real opinions and do
Yeah.
all these
Yeah.
things before you commit yourself to buying a home in a specific neighborhood. Because the worst thing in the world is that you go and you buy a home and now you end up in a place that you don't like to be, or you're forced to stay in a job that you hate because you put yourself in this situation by buying a home, right? And
Yeah.
so that
Talk about
is
epic
so
buyer's remorse.
Yeah.
You know?
right.
Yeah, I
Epic
mean,
buyer's remorse.
yeah, take Ian, for example. I mean, he's been out for almost 2 years and he's had 3 jobs. I mean, luckily they've all been here, right? Because that was like our number one thing, we were gonna stay here. But yeah, I mean, that's awesome advice. And thanks so much. I think you've given our audience today so much to think about. So and that was really the idea, right? To get us everybody thinking about this space and how important it is. And it is the biggest purchase of your life, right? I mean, buying a home is the big one, right?
Mm.
Especially for military families that
Mhm.
have been, moving around, maybe, active duty for a long time. So, so thank you so much for that. So we're going to transition now to the what's in your rucksack game. So you've heard about this before. We prepped you for it. So thinking about your military service and now your civilian service, what's one thing that you'd like to bring from your military service into your civilian life? And then what's one thing you were happy to chuck out of the rucksack and leave behind?
Yeah. What's so funny is I thought when I was at Plebe Summer, which is like the service academy version of boot camp. Um, they told us about this idea of Message to Garcia. They were telling us this story of Message to Garcia, this book of Message to Garcia, and I just thought it was the most ridiculous thing of all time. I was like, why the heck are we talking about it? Right? But when it comes to what I want to keep in my rucksack for all times is a copy of Message to Garcia. And Message to Garcia is this book about figuring it out. This young private Garcia, this young private is given a message from the president that says, deliver this message to Garcia with no other instructions, right? And that's it. He's like, where do I start? Who's Garcia? Where's Garcia? All this stuff, nothing, right? At the end of the day, all he knows is he has to deliver a message to Garcia and he has to figure it out, right? And it goes back to what I talk about, what makes great real estate agents. What I want to keep with me in every single place that I go in my rucksack that I take everywhere is a copy to message to Garcia. Because at the end of the day, for me, it's just a clear, again, depiction, a clear analogy to the fact that you have to figure it out. You have to be
Mhm.
a problem solver. You have to be curious. You have to be inquisitive. You have to do all the things to be able just to figure it out and get the job done. Right. And so for me, it's the number one thing that honestly the military taught me was not being defeated when you feel like you don't have enough information to do things. You just got to start again. You just got to figure it out, or you got to
Roll
find
up
a
your sleeves and go. Yeah.
and so for me, that's like the number one thing I keep in my rucksack is a
Yeah.
copy of Message to Garcia. I just think it's the coolest analogy to life, right? Like we deal with so much adversity in the military,
Mhm.
and yet you just still go and you figure it out because that's
Yeah.
what you have to do, and it's an incredible life skill, right?
Yeah. And you get to do that on the spouse side now
And now I get
Yeah.
to do it on the south side.
and refine it even more.
There've been a lot of Message to Garcia going on recently,
Yeah.
right? So
Nice. Nice.
yeah, 100%. The one thing that I wish I could kick out of my rucksack, and I'm still working to try and kick it out of my rucksack, is that just utter and complete eternal pessimism that comes
Mm.
with being in the military. And believing that everything that could go wrong is going to go wrong. And that I wish I could get it out of me. I feel like I'm a chronically pessimistic. I hope I do a good job of presenting a sort of
Yeah, I
optimism.
definitely would not have said that about you. So
No,
so
no.
you're hiding it well.
Oh
It's
my
like that
gosh.
over preparing. It's like
Yeah.
we've got to prepare for the absolute worst. And
Gotta
it's like,
always.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
Uh,
I mean, framing it in a different way might be the way to get over that hump. But yeah, those are great things to look at. Messages of hope and being able to just do and then being able to better yourself. Great things that from the rucksack piece. So now we're gonna do two truths and a lie military style. I'm going to give you the three bits of information that our previous guest, Jason Metzger, my best friend, and for those watching here, this is from part 2 of his series as we follow him through retirement. But I'm going to give you the opportunity, Grant, to guess which one is the lie. So, all right, first
yeah.
up, number 1, Jason met Drew Carey at Osan Air Base, Korea. Number 2, he met the Russian charge d'affaires while he was in Iraq. And number 3, he met the band Big and Rich in Pakistan. Which one is the lie?
Which
It's a lot
celebrity did
of
he
which
not meet?
celebrity in which foreign country.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like Drew Carey in Japan, that one feels like a very USO type thing. Like that's believable to me. The Russian Tsar seems interesting. Or whatever you were saying there about some
Yeah,
Russian guy
charge
in Iraq.
d'affaires. Yeah, so
Yeah.
a Russian diplomat.
Russian
Diplomat, yeah.
diplomat in Iraq. I could see that potentially. And I don't even know what the band is in Pakistan. So I look at we're going a complete guess here. We're gonna go complete guess here, but I'm gonna go C. The band in Pakistan was the lie.
That's correct.
Did it?
That's
Yeah.
correct. Well,
Big and Rich. I'd
yeah.
never even heard of Big and Rich, so I had to Google
Country
it.
bands, yeah.
Yeah.
So, he met Drew Carey. I met Drew Carey. He was at in Korea with when Jason and I were stationed there together. So, I know that one's a fact. I'm still wondering about the Russian guy, but
Yeah,
that's a whole other story.
we're not sure he was telling the truth there.
Yeah, no, it's all good. All right, so Grant, over to you.
Yeah.
You're going to give us your three pieces of information, and we'll let our next guest see if they can determine which one is the lie. So
Yeah.
over to you.
No, this is good. I chose to be a little bit kinder to my next guest. I feel like mine's not gonna hear, but no, all right, two truths and a lie. My three things. One, being a military spouse is harder than being an active duty service member. Potentially controversial. That one's a little bit subjective, but we're going for it. It's my truth. Okay, we're speaking my
There you go. There you
Two,
go.
my wife has more total deployed time than I do. And three, my wife is my favorite person on the planet.
Oh, I think this is an easy one.
This is
But
easy.
we're going to let our next guest see if they can figure it out. But yeah, Grant, thank you so very much for taking the time to join us today. Really, really appreciate and value the insights that you brought to bear. From your time in uniform, your time now as a mil spouse, and everything that you've done with that to be able to continue to help pay it forward with military families and those interested in attending the fine institution in Annapolis, Maryland, known as our United States Naval Academy. In your podcast. Thanks for what you continue to do. And again, we'll drop all the information in our show notes. So check us out on thenexttourpodcast.com, and you'll be able to hit up all the socials and everywhere where you can either watch or listen to these podcasts. So Grant, thanks again. Really appreciate it.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it. So fun.
The views, opinions, and advice expressed by our guest on the next tour are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the podcast, Andia, or any affiliated organizations. While we strive to provide helpful and accurate information, this podcast is for informational purposes only. We encourage listeners to consult with professionals or conduct their own research before making any significant decisions related to military transition or post-service life. The content is intended as guidance and personal perspective, not as official advice.